some kids are going, yeah, back to school, it's great. Maybe not all kids, but a lot of kids are. And it's just around the corner. Parents, you already have homework, make sure that your children are ready for the big schedule change that is a-coming.
Yeah, many children don't get the recommended amount of sleep each night, and that, of course, can lead to some serious problems, including lower grades, weakened immune systems, and even some depression. Joining us with more on starting a sleep routine is Dr. Eric Hernandez, a sleep medicine specialist at Noran Neurological and Abbott Northwestern. Good morning, doctor.
Good morning.
First and foremost, I think we all know the answer to this question on a basic level. How important is that sleep schedule to our kids?
Extremely important. Having a sleep schedule allows your kids to get enough adequate sleep at night. You want a regular sleep schedule because you want your kids' circadian timing, which is our natural sleep and wake pattern, to correspond with when we're getting sleep. If you sleep at the wrong times, your sleep isn't as refreshing. And so if you get your children into a pattern that gives them sufficient amounts of sleep, you get the best quality of sleep and enough sleep.
Okay, so Dr. Hernandez and I were talking about this in the break. Teenagers probably are going to have the hardest time because, like mine, they're staying up until crazy hours in the summertime. So what is the best way to get them back on that routine, especially if their kids are starting school on Monday?
If you're in a rush to get them to their sleep pattern, it's about an hour a night. But in general, to make it a smoother transition, we recommend a 15-minute shift each night. By that I mean having them go to bed earlier 15 minutes each night, and more importantly, it's the wake-up time that you have to keep track of. It's the wake-up time and bright light, like sunlight outside or blue light, that lets them fall asleep earlier the next night. And so if you want them to fall asleep earlier, you wake them up earlier, you make them have the light, you open those windows, you get them outside, none of the dim, dark light around the house. You get them up, you give them light, and you shift them 15 minutes a night.
So my mom was always right. She would burst into the room on a Saturday morning and roll up with the shades and go, "It's day!"
That's exactly right.
It may have been noon, but it's still. We have a variety of age children. We've got lowish teens. I've got a 9 and 11-year-old. And sleep requirements for kids can vary depending on age. Yes, it does.
Sleep is when our brain develops and our body grows. And so for kids, it's grow and develop time. For adults, it's maintenance time. But because of that, the younger your children are, the more sleep they need. By the time they get to school age years, it's a little bit variable, but it's usually about 9 to 11 hours a night. And by the time they get into high school, it's between 8 and 10 hours a night. So it goes down as we get older, but kids need more sleep. That's when they're growing. That's when their brain is developing. If they don't get enough sleep, you mentioned problems with academic performance. Suicide rates are higher if your kids are sleep deprived, believe it or not. Depression is worse. Car accidents are worse. And of course, everybody knows that if your kids don't have enough sleep, they are irritable in the morning.
Yeah, there's that. Okay, so you probably heard this before, but just in case, it's a good primer that there are things that kids maybe shouldn't be doing before they go to bed, things that are making them stay up later.
Yeah, pretty much anything that they want to do will keep them up later. Screen time. Bright lights in the morning help you fall asleep earlier. Bright lights at night make you stay up later. No screen time. TV, tablets, game consoles. You want to avoid the bright light. There's also things like caffeine. Don't let them drink that diet pop or caffeinated beverages into the evening. That should be done by the time the morning's over, the early afternoon. So stop things like that. Don't do things in bright light. Don't do things too activating. It should be a calming, relaxing routine just before bedtime.
Yeah, nothing should be frantic or anything like that. And real quick, how much time does it take to adjust for kids' bodies? We've been doing it for a couple of weeks now. My daughter's transitioning to middle school, so that bus is an hour earlier. And so not only is it getting used to normal time, it's all new schedules.
Yeah. Theoretically, you can shift about 1 hour a day. You know that from jet lag data. Yeah. So when you go to Europe, which is about 7 hours off, depending on where you go, it takes about a week to get back in your pattern. But in general, to make it smoother so the kids kind of learned how to go to bed earlier, it's about 15 minutes. That's not as tough on their schedule per day.
Not too late.
All right.
Dr. Eric Hernandez, thank you so much for being here.
It was a pleasure being here. Thank you.
Good tips. We need to hear them,
Great
and so
stuff,
do the kids.